I told you all last week, double stack Mahomes, start printing your money now. And yet, for some reason, you're back here listening to my piss poor advice once again. And I'm happy you're back. No Mahomes on the main slate this week, but I have a couple stacks that I think are must plays. Let's talk through this main slate week 4 right after this.
Tell them to bring me my money.
Welcome into the Rumbles of Red. Thank you for being here tonight, Friday night, 8:15 Central Time, every week. Walking through the main slate for this week, week 4 on Fanduel. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Appreciate you all jumping in the chat tonight. Let me know your thoughts. And we're already here early and often with the comments. Looking for some pass catching running backs against defenses with good edge rushers. I think that's a pretty solid advice. These kind of running backs have an edge over typical ground and pounds. I think we've got a couple guys that we're going to talk about tonight that are these pass catching running backs in pretty good situations this week for daily fantasy. It does change every week. Obviously, season long, you always want to be hitting up your waivers and trying to find that stud running back for that week. How'd you do last week? How'd you do in week 3? Did you play the Mahomes stack? Did you go elsewhere? Did you play Devontae Smith? Because he smashed last week. Did you play Mac Hollins? Yes, that's Mac Hollins for the Las Vegas Raiders. Did you go that route this week? Because if you did, you probably won a little bit of money, so congratulations there. Let me know in the comments how well you did in week 3. Still finding my way here. The single game slates have really killed me this year so far, and that's where I usually really kind of pick up any slack from my main slates. Last year, I really did very well with the single game slates. I've been so close multiple times, just haven't hit the bink quite yet. And we're going to have a single game slate this week, an extra single game that is on Sunday morning, 8:30 Central Time. The New Orleans Saints against the Vikings, right? Yeah, the New Orleans Saints against the Vikings. So we'll talk through that. I'm actually going to build a lineup for that game specifically, just to kind of give you guys a feel for how I run my single games here on FanDuel. Last week, I had a lineup that would have finished 7th in my $50 tournament. That would have been great. Would have probably paid off the first couple of weeks. Very tilting. Unfortunately, I did not put it in that lineup. Ended up in 40th out of 470th and won me a little bit of money, but it definitely didn't pay for the first 2 weeks like it would have in the $50 lineup. Through 3 weeks, it hasn't been great results, but I do think that I just want to continue to be honest and transparent with you all because we're all growing and learning together. This is a new type of DFS show. I'm here to walk you through what I'm seeing on the slate, but also hear from you all in the comments. So jump in there as we go through position by position. And of course, hit that like button, please. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell. Every Friday night, 8:15, we're well on our way to our goal of 100 subscribers for the NFL season. And let's jump into the agenda for tonight. I talked about that early morning single game slate. Let's build a lineup for that. We'll go position by position for the main slate like we do every single week. Talk through our stacking options this week. Again, no Mahomes double stacks. And then, of course, let's build some lineups. Let's start with that Sunday morning single game slate here. Who's your favorite MVP? If you're looking at the Saints and the Vikings, who's your favorite MVP for that game? Who are you going to put in that slot? I'm going to make this a little larger for you all. So for me, when I'm looking at on DraftKings, the MVP spot, it's quite different from DraftKings on Fanduel. It's quite different from DraftKings. On DraftKings, you actually have to pay 1.5 the salary for the player. On Fanduel, you still get the same salary. So you don't have to, you're not essentially paying up for anyone. Fanduel is also only half-point PPR, but I still really run a DraftKings style lineup, and I'd really try to avoid putting my quarterbacks in the MVP spot. And in fact, my favorite MVP is the same here, is Olave. That's my favorite MVP for this single game slate. No Michael Thomas this week. The Vikings defense has been quite poor. Give me a little bit of Chris Olave, 13 targets over the last 2 weeks, which we like every single time, right? We'll take that volume. So if I put Chris Olave here, again, you don't have to pay up here on FanDuel. But anytime I take a wide receiver in that MVP spot, I'm still going to carry that quarterback with them. And if you don't know, Jameis Winston is doubtful for this week, which means we're going to be rolling out, yes, sir, the red rifle, Andy Dalton to Chris Olave. We'll see how that rolls. I really want to get Justin Jefferson in here. It's, New Orleans defense is really, really solid, but I really think the Minnesota Vikings know they got to get back to this guy. So I'm okay with that. Leaves us with 9,700 left again. So we're going to have to go down a little bit here. I don't like Taysom Hill. I think he's going to be playing the backup role. Mark Ingram, Traquan Smith, maybe. But really what I like in this game, if you remember over the past couple years, these early morning Sunday games, they haven't been high-flying shootout style games. I don't know. I can't remember exactly where this one's played, but most, in London or wherever they're at overseas, it gives these players a little bit of trouble. I kind of like the sneaky plays of this defense, a new wrinkle to FanDuel single game slates, this year. Not something we dealt with last year in single game slates. Something I'm still kind of trying to feel out a little bit this year. I have not been super successful with the defenses in the single game slates, but I don't mind this, right? So all we're telling ourselves right here is Chris Olave is going to, he's taking all the volume in a low scoring affair. Defenses, Kirk Cousins, Andy Dalton. Why not throw out the Vikings defense against Andy Dalton? He's surely going to throw an interception or two, take a bunch of sacks. That's why I'm looking at something like this. Not perfect, but that would be why I play those two. We could do a 2 London games this week. Who's the other London game this week? That'd be good to know. That might change our main slate. Who's the other London game this week? Other options, obviously, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins. You can always throw your quarterbacks in there. But Chris Olave way down here, I don't think he's going to be used in the MVP slot too much. And just so you all are aware, the game I always play in is this 100-player league. $5 to top 12. Currently, there's 7 people in this league. So go ahead and jump in if you want to. Play with me here. Pays out top 12. Right? So come on in. I don't know if I can share this particular one, but jump on in here. 7 out of 100 currently. $5 to enter. It is a 3-max tournament. So let's look at one more option. We could do like a Dalvin Cook, which I don't mind. I actually usually would like to play the running back defense, very similar to what we would do in a main slate. Do it again here on single entry or single slate as well. You could throw a kicker in there. I don't mind completely super stacking one team, right? So Dalvin Cook goes off. They're going to kick a couple field goals and maybe Adam Thielen catches the touchdown like he did last week, right? It leaves you 15,000. You bring back Olave on the other side. This doesn't happen often in these single game slates. Most people are not playing 4. They're usually playing 3 versus 2, right? 3 guys on one team, 2 guys on the other. Very rarely are they going to play a 4v1 or even a 1v4 if you're going to go the other way. So I don't mind super stacking a team as well. I think this might be a little much just from Minnesota's standpoint. They don't seem like the high-flying offense we thought they were going to be. And this New Orleans defense is pretty solid. But I don't mind doing something like this and running out 4 Vikings or 4 Saints as well. So that's just a little bit of how I build my single game slates. Hopefully that's helpful for you all. Hopefully you jump in here and you'll win a little bit of money on Sunday morning before the main slate even hits. All right, let's talk that main slate here on FanDuel. Who's your favorite quarterback? We'll jump right in. I think there's 3 quarterbacks that you can play this week, but I want to hear from you. Who's your favorite quarterback for the main slate on Sunday afternoon? Who you got? Okay, just back-to-back weeks. All right, that was going to throw me off. I was going to be ready for a quick pivot here on the fly if there was another game in London. Back-to-back weeks, though. I don't mind that. With the red rifle, Lutz is better than Joseph. We love the red rifle around here. You know, the Dallas Cowboys, they've got the junior red rifle. In Cooper Rush, man, he has been slinging it, looking pretty good for those Cowboys. But let's talk some good quarterbacks, not the Red Rifle Junior. We're talking Josh Allen, 8,900. He's looking to be coming in here about 25% owned. He is the top dollar quarterback on the slate. I'm going to pull it up for you all here. He is the top dollar quarterback here on the main slate at 8,900. Lamar Jackson, as you guys will know, if you don't already, they play each other this week in the highest scoring total on the slate. What a game. I mean, that's going to be awesome. I'm actually excited that this game happens on a week that the Chiefs don't play on the main slate, playing on Sunday Night Football, because I just want to watch this game, right? As an NFL fan, as a football fan, this seems to be the perfect scenario for a great shootout. The Bills, really tough injuries on the defensive end. The Ravens can't stop anybody on defense, giving up the most passing yards per game in the NFL. And then you bring in 2 phenomenal quarterbacks vying, I would say, 2 early front runners for the MVP of the season already, and the top 2 fantasy quarterbacks through 3 weeks. Give me as much of this game as possible, but it's really going to come down to which one of these 2 are you going to play. And I do think that I'll add in Jalen Hurts as well to that mix at 8,600. To me, I think Lamar is the one that gets squeezed a little bit here. People still aren't going to quite believe in Baltimore's offense. People are still going to believe the Bills' defense is fantastic, and they are good, but they do have some of those injuries I think will affect it a little bit. And if you're going to pay up there, why not take Josh Allen? Or if you want to save some money, you might take Jalen Hurts. So I do think Lamar Jackson is the one that gets squeezed out of ownership just a little bit here. And when I say a little bit, I'm talking single entry, small field tournaments. Josh Allen, maybe 35%, Lamar 15, and then Jalen Hurts, maybe 30. So they're all going to be similarly even still. And I do think these are the 3 guys that you have to have this week if you are going to win. I'm only playing these small field tournaments, and I just think that if you don't have one of these, if you try to get too contrarian here at the quarterback position, try to get too cheap, I do think you're going to just lose a lot of ceiling, and I'm not sure you're going to be able to catch up to it everywhere else. If you do decide you want to get a little contrarian, I don't mind Marcus Mariota, $7,300. He's looking to be sub 10% owned. Again, if you're just really trying to save money, maybe there's a couple top tier running backs you really like this week, or you want to just play a Diggs and Mark Andrews mini stack and keep away from the quarterbacks and try to play a contrarian. I don't mind Marcus Mariota. It's just not necessarily a play that I'm looking to do in small field single entry games this week. I'd rather save elsewhere and just get back up to those top tier quarterbacks. Also, Justin Herbert against the Houston Texans is an option this week. Right on cue here, Trenton. Justin Herbert with Keenan Allen returning again. I went a couple of Herbert double stacks last week and it just didn't work out. I might be a little spooked off that, but I don't mind throwing at least one contrarian play with a Justin Herbert, but I'm not confident that it's going to get there. Although I like Keenan Allen. Actually, I think did Keenan Allen get called out already this week? I know he wasn't quite ready to play yet. But I'll have to look up that, or maybe one of you all can look up that. Is Keenan Allen going to even play on Sunday? Either way, I don't mind Justin Herbert still against the Houston Texans. I'm just a little bit worried about that offense. They lost a left tackle, which is huge. How do they react to all that and all their injuries there in Los Angeles? Going to be rainy and windy. Definitely something we need to keep an eye out for, especially in this Baltimore-Buffalo game. Look, the rain, these two quarterbacks run so much, they can run right through it, but the wind is definitely could play a factor. So just keep an eye on that, as unfortunately the Hurricane Ian is headed up the East Coast at this point in time, right up to Buffalo and Baltimore, that northeast area. Again, I'm not as worried about these two guys in wind and rain, but if it gets super windy, that will definitely play a huge factor. Was questionable 4 hours ago ruled out? Yeah, I thought it was ruled out. I thought that's what I saw, but I wanted to make sure. So, yeah, that gives me a little bit of hesitation. I would have liked to see Keenan Allen out there for Justin Herbert, but I still don't think you have to completely avoid a Herbert stack. He's going to hit one of these weeks, and you're going to hope that you had him when he does hit. Any other quarterbacks you guys want to talk about? I mean, I don't think I can drive it home enough. I think you have to play Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Lamar Jackson. My favorite out of all of those is definitely Jalen Hurts. You save a couple $100. You're not necessarily going to save in roster percentage, but I just think that this Baltimore-Buffalo game is going to be the most chalky game on the slate. So if I could just get a little bit different here with the quarterback, I'm going to take that. Trevor Lawrence, I like Trevor Lawrence in season long. I like Trevor Lawrence as a streamer. I'm not sure Trevor Lawrence has the ceiling quite yet to get up to where these guys, these Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson style quarterbacks are at. I don't think Trevor Lawrence has that type of ceiling. And so I'm just afraid you're going to lose too much, be too far behind right out of the gates if you're not playing one of these guys. But I love Trevor Lawrence. He's looked really, really good through the first 3 weeks. Just don't know if he's my quarterback for Sunday's main slate. Jump right into running backs. Who's your favorite running back on the slate this week? Let's take a look at the top guys. Nick Chubb sitting at the top, 9,200. Christian McCaffrey, 8,800. Johnny Taylor, 87. Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler. When's he ever going to score? Damn touchdown. Saquon's up here. James Robinson at 7,800. Fanduel got spicy with their prices this week. Cordero's up here. Jamal Williams. You can't get that chalky, cheap running back Jamal Williams this week. FanDuel's way ahead of it. Price him at the same price they priced DeAndre Swift. Khalil Herbert's in the mix this week, 7,200. Price at the same as David Montgomery. Fanduel was all over it this week. We didn't get this nice, easy cakewalk, free square of a running back, did we? Fanduel was ready and prepared for these running backs, these stud running backs missing it. Even with that, though, I think I'm still going to go to the top of the board here. And Nick Chubb, 9,200. Yes, the most expensive running back on the board, but he should come in sub 3%. I'm not usually a big Nick Chubb guy. He doesn't catch passes. He's not like a guy that you're like, oh, he's going to get 20, 25 touches. He's going to, hit that ceiling. But he is in a smash spot this week. The Atlanta Falcons give up 4.8 yards per carry. And the Cleveland Browns, well, they're just getting an easy 5 yards per carry through 3 weeks. And I see Nick Chubb just feasting on that. Again, not an extremely high total here for the Cleveland-Atlanta game. But Chubb, as we saw just a few weeks ago, has that slate-breaking ability with his 3 touchdowns. I like Nick Chubb here. I think he's a good contrarian play, sub 3% rostered on Sunday. Nobody's really going up for a guy like Nick Chubb. So if you're a guy that or gal that likes to pay up for running backs, don't be afraid to go up to Nick Chubb this week at 9,200. He's going to be way less rostered than a guy like Christian McCaffrey if healthy. More mid-tier for me this week, Khalil Herbert, 7,200. David Montgomery's already been ruled out. I was really hoping Montgomery would kind of linger at least until Sunday morning and give a game time decision, kind of give this slate something to flip on its head late in the week. We don't get that, right? So now we're going to get Khalil Herbert probably steamed. I think the thing that we have going for us this week is Jamal Williams is also going to be slated just a few $100s more than Herbert. Jamal Williams in a better offense, maybe even in a better spot. But Khalil Herbert still going to get all that volume. And so for a couple $100 less, maybe more overlooked than Jamal Williams, I don't mind taking a tournament shot on a guy like Khalil Herbert, especially if that ownership stays in check. And then the last guy, and you all see the title of this week's episode, right? Well, here's why. Have you guys noticed Christian McCaffrey hasn't practiced all week long? Right? 8,800 Christian McCaffrey right now is being projected to be playing. All the projections have him in there and projected like 32% ownership. Like, people love Christian McCaffrey in this spot against the Arizona Cardinals this week, but he hasn't practiced much this week. He's got a quad contusion. They're really kind of holding this close to the vest, but if he doesn't play, Dante Foreman, let's look him up here, $4,700. That makes things, that just opens it all up. And the reason I'm bringing this up, I'm not telling you go make a lineup right now and be ready to go, right? Like, because we can't necessarily do that because we're not really sure exactly what's going to happen with Christian McCaffrey. However, if we get to Sunday morning and C-Mac misses, becomes inactive, 10 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central time, I think it is, Sunday morning, inactives come out, and if Christian McCaffrey is on that list, it opens up a lot of salary, and it's just 2 hours before lock. Most people are not changing their lineups 2 hours before lock, and if they are, if they've got McCaffrey in their lineup, they're just gonna go to like a Saquon Barkley or maybe find a couple $100 to get up the Chubb at that point in time. Most people are not going to blow up their entire lineup to go down to Foreman and then to start paying up for all these stud wide receivers. It just doesn't happen like that on most occasions. So this is your opportunity to be ready to make the pivot before the games even start. Again, C-Mac is projecting nearly 30% ownership. All those people are not going to move to Dante Foreman. I like Foreman over Chuba Hubbard. Foreman showed it. We've seen it before from him. I like him a lot if Christian McCaffrey were to miss for Carolina this week. I'm just not. Where are you placing Hubbard? I'm just not. I like Foreman. We've seen him do it last year. Haven't seen much from Hubbard. I think Hubbard will probably be more of a pass catching running back in this scenario. And we haven't really seen that from Baker this year. He's not throwing it to Christian McCaffrey. So I don't expect him to just come out and start peppering Hubbard with targets, at least not in this week. So if this is the case, I'm going Foreman for week 4 if Christian McCaffrey becomes inactive. Let's take a look at a couple other points per dollar plays. Saquon Barkley at 8,100 is projecting pretty good this week. Jonathan Taylor against the Tennessee Titans, projecting pretty well. Got to give a quick shout out to the Indie Intercept podcast, by the way. Go check them out on Twitter and on Spotify. They had me on Sunday evening after the Colts upset the Chiefs, and it was a really good time. They treated me very well. Great host over there, great podcast. If you like the Colts, if you don't like the Colts, you just want to listen and hear about them, go check them out. Indie Intercept on Twitter. I appreciate them, but shout out to them and Johnny Taylor for projecting well here this week in week 4. Josh Jacobs, not a play that I'm going to run after. I probably will never run after a guy like Josh Jacobs, but at 6,500, he is projecting very well this week. And then Naji Harris. Do you know why Naji Harris at 7K is projecting well? Because he plays the New York Football Jets. Yeah, and that team is pretty garbage on defense. So if you're willing to fire up the Pittsburgh Steelers running back Naji Harris, he is projecting well. Really, all these Steelers are projecting well. Deontay Johnson looking like one of the best points per dollar plays at the wide receiver position. Freiermuth looks good at the tight end position. I think he's looking top 5, top 6 in projections. So all these Steelers are really popping in the projections. What's up, Andrew? What is up? Oh, I don't know. We can't no go Colts around here. In this podcast, we're all talking DFS, right? No fandoms here. Although obviously I'm still a little hurt from last week. Welcome in. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. And let's have some fun here. Let's talk wide receivers. Wide receivers are probably the hardest position to choose this week, right? I'm stuck on 3 quarterbacks. I'm not really coming off of any of those 3. But with the price of quarterback and Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Lamar Jackson, you're going to have to find some salary relief somewhere. There's not a lot of salary relief at the running back position unless Christian McCaffrey gets hurt. Therefore, you're going to have to save a little bit here at the wide receiver position. I think that's really where we're going to win or lose games this week. Who's your favorite wide receiver on the main slate here for Sunday? A lot of good games, a lot of high totals. It's going to be Steph Diggs, Gabe Davis, Rashad Bateman. You're going to go with the Eagles wide receivers. Remember, no Tyreek, no Chase. The Chiefs wide receivers are off the slate. No Tampa Bay wide receivers this week. So who are you going with wide receivers in week 4? We were in a dynasty league together for a long while. Well, was I winning the league? Serious question. AJ Brown. I like AJ Brown. I'm going to talk about the Eagles wide receivers here momentarily. Are we going Corey Davis? This is a Corey Davis take in DFS. That's where we're going. Kirk stack. I don't mind Christian Kirk coming back here a little bit. Gabriel Davis. All right. Thank you, Trenton. Thank you for keeping my head on a swivel here. I was getting really confused. Let's talk these Bills wide receivers a little bit. Steph Diggs, 8,700. The ceiling play of all ceiling plays here for the Buffalo Bills. I think he is the top stack option with Josh Allen. Definitely the most popular stack option. It's just going to be so expensive if you play Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. You're not going to leave yourself a whole lot of salary anywhere else. Let's just take a look at it here. As I pull this up, if we take in consideration, we're going to just throw in Josh Allen, Steph Diggs. You're already down to 6,000 per player. Even if you threw in the very cheapest defense of the entire main slate, right? That's always an option. Sorry, excuse me. My scrolling. Play the Raiders. I'm still only getting 6,500 per player, and that's only from 3 different players. It's just a very expensive stacking option, but for good reason, right? For very, very good reason. He should be one of the top stacks, and he's definitely one of the higher projected players. So there's nothing wrong with going to a Steph Diggs. Personally, I agree with Trenton here. Gabe Davis, 6,500, and his ownership looks to be a lot less than Steph Diggs's as well. So a little bit contrarian, but maybe a slight way to get different there at Buffalo because it's going to be the chalky game. I also don't mind an Isaiah McKenzie there for Buffalo if you're really trying to get contrarian. The Eagles wide receivers, A.J. Brown, 8,300. He's a direct pivot really off of Steph Diggs at 8,700. Diggs is going to be the chalky play. A.J. Brown will not be as chalky, so I don't mind that. Devontae Smith, $6,900. He's the one that goes off last week, so is he worth going after again this week? I think this Eagles offense is being overlooked this week. What do you guys think? All the talk is this Buffalo-Baltimore game for good reason. We've talked about a lot here already tonight. But what about this Eagles offense? Why is it being overlooked? Against a Jacksonville team that's going to give up the points, but also good enough to push the Eagles a little bit. At least that's what we've seen in the first couple weeks. I don't mind a Hurts double stack here with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Just get a little contrarian off that Buffalo-Baltimore game. Sign me up for a stack like that. And then we talked about it earlier. No Keenan Allen this week. Mike Williams, 7,200. He's a cheaper option. Let's take a look here where he's at. Mike Williams, a cheaper option here for the wide receivers. Pull it up here. You got to scroll down. Here's Keenan Allen. Here's Mike Williams right here. 7,200 against this Texans defense. And I don't even think you have to stack anybody on the Texans side to take a guy like Mike Williams. The Chargers are almost in must-win situation already early in the season. Not something we expected to say. But against this Houston defense, look at Michael Pittman is going to be kind of not chalky, but he's going to be rostered quite a bit. DK Metcalf is rostered probably in the 15% range. Deontay Johnson's popping in all of the metrics. He's going to be a popular play. Devontae Smith with any Hurts stacks there. Cortland Sutton looks really, really good in the projections. You're just kind of squeezing out a Mike Williams here against a Houston team, and I think it's mainly because that game doesn't seem like it's going to be a shootout, so people don't want that. But if you play Mike Williams in a one-off situation, he's got the ability to pull down 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. I don't think it's a terrible play this week for the main slate on Sunday. A couple other points per dollar plays. Drake London, $6,300 this week. It's Friday night, guys. Gotta get another beer. Come on now. CD Lamb, $6,800 with Cooper Rush there throwing to him. Michael Gallup will be back this week. That could pull CD Lamb's ownership down just a little bit. We'll have to see that on Sunday morning. Now that the Gallup news came out today, let the models kind of catch up to that news. Cortland Sutton, 6,800 popping for points per dollar play. And then Devontae Adams at 7,900. If I pull this back up, not a guy that we really talked about, but he's up here. Amon-Ra St. Brown is out. Hollywood's going to be popular. He definitely should be. Christian Kirk we talked about here. So again, another player who is kind of sandwiched in between all these popular plays and Steph Diggs, AJ Brown, Hollywood, Christian Kirk for those, AJ Brown mini stacks or those Jalen Hurts double stacks. You want to bring it back with a Christian Kirk. And then you got Devontae Adams against a really solid Denver Broncos defense. But can you go after him this week? As we know how Devontae Adams is as wide receiver. I mean, that dude's still a stud. Joshua Palmer. Look, if we're going to try to go cheap, I don't mind Palmer. Let's see where he's at. 5,800. Let me show you guys the model here. It's not my model. It's Fantasy Labs. And let me pull it up. Sorry. Thought I was pulled up. It's not my model. It's Fantasy Labs. Don't worry. And they're hashtag not a sponsor, but it's where I do a lot of my research. Looking up Josh Palmer here. Not bad projected ownership at 7%. Decent ceiling here. 5,800, 1.7 PPR or points per salary. So that's really, it's not a bad play according to the projections here. I don't know if I'm going to get super cute with this LA Houston game. It's kind of a game that I think I want to play Mike Williams or nobody. Maybe Austin Eckler. I went to him last week. That touchdown regression is going to go back the other way. It's a man, after last year, all those touchdowns he had, having 0 through the first 3 weeks is that's a huge swing towards the opposite end. The pendulum's going to swing back at some point in time, and he is going to find the end zone. So I don't mind playing Austin Eckler, but I don't think I'm going to get super cute with a guy like Josh Palmer, although he does save you a lot of salary here at a position that we are needing to look for some salary savings. Love Treylon Burks. I really like Treylon Burks. The Indianapolis Colts run defense is pretty stout, but the pass defense is not great. Of course, they beat the Chiefs last week, but if you go to the couple weeks before that, this pass defense wasn't great, and I think that will open up a little bit of opportunity for a guy like Treylon Burks. All right, let's move into tight end real quick. Let's hit the tight ends here, and then let's get in some stacks, and maybe we'll build a couple more lineups. Is there a tight end outside of Mark Andrews that you're excited to play on this main slate? No Travis Kelce on the main slate. Is there a tight end outside of Mark Andrews that let me know in the comments here, guys. I'm trying to find other options because Mark Andrews is going to be chalky. $8,400, highest game total, best game environment. He is the number one option in Baltimore for Lamar Jackson. He is also super expensive comparative to the other tight ends. And hopefully that helps keep his ownership in check, but I don't think it's necessarily going to, especially in these single single entry, smaller contests. I think the ownership is really going to condense around a guy like Mark Andrews. I mean, look at this. He's nearly $2,000 more than the next tight end. He's the number one tight end through 3 weeks. Everybody's going to be itching to play this guy. And I'm just like, not can you? Of course we can play other guys. I got a couple guys we can play. But do you want to? Is there anybody else you want to? Got a Robert Tonyan. Again, do you want to play him or can you play him? We can play anybody on the slate, right? But do you want to? Are you going to feel good about saying, "Hey, I'm putting Robert Tonyan in my lineup," knowing that Mark Andrews can go off for 130 and 2 touchdowns and just destroy you at that position? Dalton Schultz, is he going to be back this week? Is he back? I don't, even if he is back and healthy, I don't like it because also Michael Gallup is back. And I know that for sure. I know Michael Gallup is back for sure. Also, is there quarterback controversy in Dallas? Is Cooper Rush going to take Dak's spot? Come on now. Not a hot take guy, but let's go. Freiermuth against the Jets. Pat Freiermuth is definitely popping in all the optimals. He is a great points per dollar play, as most of those Steelers. You going to put your faith in Mitch Trubisky? That's where my question is there, right? I'm not trying to just play devil's advocate about all these tight ends, but the tight end position is trash outside of Mark Andrews. So how are we going to feel when we put these guys in our lineup? It's going to feel gross. Probably the chalkiest tight end play outside of Mark Andrews is going to be TJ Hawkinson, $5,400. No DeAndre Swift this week. No Amon-Ra St. Brown this week for the Lions. TJ Hawkinson, he's going to be the volume king of the week, truly, and he's $3,000 less than Mark Andrews. He might actually come in higher owned than Mark Andrews at the end of the day. We might flip our cards over and see that TJ Hawkinson is the most highly rostered tight end, but volume is key in this game. And without DeAndre Swift and without St. Brown, Hawkinson should really earn most of those targets there in Detroit. Against the Seattle Seahawks, I really don't mind like a little Rashad Penny, TJ Hawkinson mini stack, because Hawkinson's going to be fairly owned where Rashad Penny is going to be fairly overlooked. But this Detroit defense has not gotten any better. It's still bad. And then Kyle Pitts, of course, $6,100. You know I'm just going to keep going after this guy. I'm going to keep playing this guy. I love Kyle Pitts. I think he's going to hit one of these weeks, and I want to be on the right side of that. He got a little bit more action last week. He's going to be probably third highest owned tight end, but most of the tight end after Hawkinson and Andrews will be pretty well spread out. So I don't mind taking a little bit of Kyle Pitts. No controversy, says Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy probably shouldn't have a job, let's be honest. He says Dak starts. I know it's probably not real controversy, but it's not any fun if you're not real controversy, right? Jake Ferguson, that feels very, very thin to me. I'm not willing to go that route this week. I want to punt at tight end if I can, but I don't think I can get anywhere near a Kyle Pitts, TJ Hawkinson, or Mark Andrews ceiling with a guy like Jake Ferguson. But this is what I like here. Isaiah Likely, right? We've talked about this Buffalo-Baltimore game. How can you get a piece of Buffalo versus Baltimore, but be different? How about Isaiah Likely? Right? He's been involved. He's getting the targets. Let's see. What's he got target-wise? Only 2 last week, 4 and 5 the first couple weeks, right? Yeah, you're not going to get this 4 for 43 every week, but he's been involved. He's only $4,300. We were talking earlier about how do we find guys to save us some money? Isaiah Likely. could save us some money. And he's a direct pivot off the chalky Mark Andrews. So now as we're building a tournament, we're playing very contrarian. We've got a piece of the most highly touted game. We got a piece of the chalk game, but with a different type of stack. Now we get a little unique. Now Lamar Jackson goes off but carries Isaiah Likely to a touchdown. One touchdown pays off this 4,300 price tag, and maybe Lamar runs in 2 times. And so Mark Andrews ends up with 6 for 60, no touchdowns. He doesn't pay off that $8,400 price tag, but Isaiah Likely gets one of the touchdowns and pays off the $4,300 price tag. So I like this call with Isaiah Likely quite a bit. And it's a contrarian play that is in the realm of possibility for me in my plays. I'm not going to guarantee I'm playing this guy this week, but he's in my player pool for tournaments this week. And I do think he's a very unique way to get a little bit different in a very chalky game. Buffalo versus Baltimore. Andrews will be double and triple. Of course, everybody's going to be all over Mark Andrews. Who cares? Dallas sucks. You're not wrong. Oh, missed it. You're not wrong there. Let's ride there in Denver for Drew Salee. Tyler, Jerry does not hat he wants. What? Tyler, grab another beer, man. It's Friday night. Let's have a cold one together. If you believe in Pitts, send me a trade in Dynasty. You better believe I am more than open to trading for a guy like Kyle Pitts and Dynasty. Hey, let me talk defense real quick here. Pull this back up. The one thing about defense, really the only thing that I want to touch base on here with defense, don't play the chalky play, guys. Come on. Don't play the chalky play. And this week, chalk really is around Vegas. And I think a lot of it's because of playing a Denver Broncos offense that has put up 11 points last week, won the ball game, but put up 11 points, right? So, and they're the cheapest defense on the slate. You need to save money somewhere. So it makes sense. The Arizona Cardinals also are the chalky play of the week at 3,200. The contrarian play this week is to try to get up here in the 4,000s. If you can do that with defense this week, you're going to separate yourself a little bit. And if I'm being honest, this is the defense I want right here. If there is any way I can play the Green Bay Packers at 5K, is it too expensive? Probably. But no Mac Jones. I don't expect Mac Jones to play anyways. If Patriots, guys, if you're in here again this week like you were last week, let me know, is Mac Jones going to play? I don't think he's going to play. Okay? So no Mac Jones. Yeah, the Packers' run defense is pretty bad. Okay, but if they can get a little bit of lead and make whoever the backup, who's the backup? Who's the backup in New England? I don't even know who the backup is. But whoever the backup is, make him throw a couple times. Maybe they get a pick six, something in there. I don't really mind getting way up for defense as a little bit of a contrarian play this week at 5K, as, again, everybody else is going to be paying up everywhere else. Don't mind that. Lost all my money at the casino. Need some drinks. The joys of living in Kansas these days, right? Giants. Oh, Zap. Thank you. Zap or Hoyer? Brian Hoyer. Of course I'm playing the Green Bay Packers against Brian Hoyer. Come on now. Let's take that. All right. Let's get into our stacks of the week. Who's your favorite stack? Is it a quarterback, wide receiver? Is it a game? Are you going to go stack up this Baltimore-Buffalo game? Maybe it's a mini stack. Maybe you just want a couple pieces of each game this week. Maybe it's a A.J. Dillon, Green Bay Packers secondary stack. One of my favorite stacks of the week. A.J. Dillon, Green Bay Packers defense. I love that play. I think A.J. Dillon is the guy who's getting the most rushing attempts. Aaron Jones, of course, is phenomenal, but Dillon is going to be the bruiser there in Green Bay. And if they get up and get a little bit of lead, they might just try to take the air out of this ball and just keep pounding it with a guy like A.J. Dillon. Love that secondary stack. Tyler is trying to now ask for Venmo money on my stream for my other listeners, maybe? Or maybe you guys are just still talking your trade and you're trying to get some money. Come on. I also accept Venmo. All this great advice. When you guys win the Millie Maker this weekend, don't forget about the little guy over here trying to give you a little advice. This right here is where I'm starting my top stack of the week. The only thing I'm going to add to it here, Lee, is I'm going to add Devontae Smith. I'm adding Devontae Smith to this stack. I'm going to go Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, double stack Jalen Hurts. And I'm going to bring back Christian Kirk. You can also bring back Evan Ingram in this position, I believe, just to try to, be different at tight end, but also kind of have it make sense in the stack situation there. But that's where I told you guys earlier, I like Jalen Hurts the most at quarterback just because of the situation. And I think this Eagles team is being overlooked. You can go Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, any of those kind of things. And I think one thing I'm going to try to do this week that I hadn't been doing is condensing down the number of plays I make, right? So the first couple weeks, I end up playing 4 to 5 different lineups, trying to kind of mix and match some of these stacks I like. And I think what I really want to do is condense that down to 2 or 3 and just hone in on a stack. Because last week, I hit it. I hit the right stack, but I had them in the wrong tournament, and that's incredibly frustrating. It was an Eagles stack. So if I can just hone in on the right stacks here, I'm going maybe 2, maybe 3 lineups, and just really hammer those home and mix and match those stacks in different types of lineups. That's what I think I want to do this week. And this is the top one that I'm going to be rolling out, and we can kind of mix and match elsewhere with this stack. Stack number 2, of course, it's Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews. I want to bring it back with Gabe Davis. Right now, Gabe Davis is not projecting to be a highly owned player, which is a little odd considering this game total. I think a little bit still coming out about the injury, and maybe people just aren't quite ready to go that route after he missed the game. But I'll go there. If he's healthy, he's on the field. I don't mind it a little bit there. Lamar, Mark Andrews, and Gabe Davis. Again, Lamar and Mark Andrews will be pretty chalky, but bringing a guy like Gabe Davis back helps kind of condense or kind of flatten out that chalk there. And then my third stack is the opposite side of the ball. Again, the same quarterback I've been talking about, and Josh Allen. With Stephon Diggs, very expensive. But if I tack on a guy like Dawson Knox to this stack, it really starts to relieve some of that salary, bring it back with the Rashad Bateman. And I'm going to like that a lot there. Again, getting as much exposure to this game as possible because it is the game of the weekend, but I also have to be different somewhere else. I think there's a chance, guys, that we get to the end of the day on Sunday and one of these 3 stacks are the nuts. Like that's the stack that you needed. And it's also going to be super chalky. So how are we going to get different with the rest of our lineup? That's really going to be the play now. Because you're going to have to get, if you go after these highly touted stacks, which I usually want to try to avoid. Usually I come in here and I tell you to play Pat Mahomes double stacks because nobody else is playing it. Well, guess what? Nobody else played Pat Mahomes double stacks last week. If I pulled up my lineup, you'd see like a 7% Mahomes, an 11% Juju. Like nobody played those guys. It didn't work out, but that's okay. Like I would rather take a low-owned, really good play that doesn't work out over a 30% quarterback if I don't get different anywhere else. So that's what we have to do. So let's build some lineups. Let's see how that's going to look here, because you can't just play Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown and Christian Kirk and then Khalil Herbert and Jamal Williams and the Raiders defense. Like, you can't play all these chalky plays together because everybody else is going to play that. And so in a tournament, we need to try to get different in a different way. All right, as I pull this up, I'll take a look at some of your guys' chats here. Carson Wentz, Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel was like the Debo Samuel of the year. It kind of seems like they're using him in different ways. The right stack will increase your stack. Oh man, welcome to Fatherhood, Drew. You got the dad jokes going on. It's Friday night. Having a good time, man. That's right, though. You're not wrong. Let's hit it. Let's hit it this weekend. Let's get the bag. Isaiah McKenzie is Josh Allen's number 2. Davis won't get the volume. I don't 100% agree with this take, because we've seen it from Gabe Davis. When he's healthy, he is all over the field. What I really like about Gabe Davis, to me, he's the guy that Josh Allen finds on a broken play more often than not. He's the guy downfield getting the air yards that has broken loose after Josh Allen leaves the pocket, those kind of things. And those broken plays lead to huge plays with Josh Allen and Gabe Davis. And I like that. I like that a lot. That's one of my favorite things about Gabe Davis. All right, let me pull this up and let's build a lineup here. Let's start with my top stack here, and that's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to go Jalen Hurts. I told you guys I want to double stack this game. I'm not going to bring back Christian Kirk, although I really like him a lot. I think I'd rather play Christian Kirk in a AJ Brown, Christian Kirk kind of mini stack. But if I'm going to double stack Jalen Hurts, I actually want to bring back Evan Ingram for a little bit of salary savings here, as Hurts and Brown and Smith are pretty expensive. So I'm going to bring that back. And then let's again, we got to get a little bit different. There is a stack out there, a little mini stack that I don't mind. Khalil Herbert, right? He's going to be playing because David Montgomery's out. He's going to get steamed here a little bit, but there's a guy on New York side that I don't believe anybody is going to. Oh, he's out. Tony got out already. Oh man, I thought he was going to play. Whatever. I'll go Richie James then. Man, I really wanted Kadarius Toney. Rats. I didn't see he was out already, but I honestly, I don't hate this David Sills play. If you guys saw last week, I played him in Showdown slate last week, and dang near won me a little bit of money. But the reason I was going Toney essentially was because like New York doesn't have anybody else. Sterling Shepard's out with the ACL. Wan'Dale Robinson's not going to play. They were going to have to play somebody. So I'll go Richie James here just to keep that little stack that I had going anyways. This game's gross, but we have to get different somewhere because we're so chalky with our main stack. Let's look at some of these afternoon games here. I don't mind. We talked about the Cardinals being the chalk defense. They are the cheap defense, which is why they're the chalk defense. But I don't mind playing them initially in a lineup here. So if I start here, because we can pivot off this. If Hurts busts, we can pivot off of this. We can go James Conner here. That's all right. We got 8,500 now left in the flex. So that's not bad for all of this. I think, well, let me have Devontae Adams. Excellent. I love that. So this is just one way to kind of show off a zoom out a little bit. Way you can build a Jalen Hurts stack. You got a little Khalil Herbert with Richie James. Again, that's how we're getting weird in the 12 o'clock game. Right? We're going to be chalky with Hurts, so we got to get weird somewhere else. Let's get weird with Hurts or with Herbert and Richie James. And then the afternoon, now I can put some chalky plays out there. Devontae Adams, Cardinals defense. Because look, if this doesn't pay off early and we take these three guys out, whatever, like let's go to Green Bay, right? Let's go to AJ Dillon. That leaves us 7,000 in the flex still. We could go right back to Denver. Cortland Sutton will be highly owned. Javonte Williams won't be. You could go Javonte Williams here. Go Jerry Jeudy. Have some leverage off the expense or the chalky Cortland Sutton. So you got a couple different options there with your afternoon slate, which if I can get a guy like Devontae Adams in this flex spot this week, I don't hate it because one, he's got the full upside, but it just leaves us so much salary because there's not a lot of those guys in this afternoon slate that can get us there. So that's kind of how I would build a stack with Jalen Hurts. Let's build a stack with Lamar and Mark Andrews. I told you all I like that stack a lot. Let's put Mark Andrews in here, Lamar. And we're going to bring it back with Gabe Davis, hoping that everybody thinks the same way as Lee does and says that Ian McKenzie is the number 2 for Josh Allen. Maybe that keeps Gabe Davis's ownership in check and a lot lower than what it should be, which I'll take every time. I've talked quite a bit about this Jacksonville-Philadelphia game. Another little mini stack I don't mind. That's a little bit cheaper, right? Because we're going to have to get cheap. We've just put Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews, both 8,400 or more in here. So that's Zay Jones. A little Zay Jones, Devontae Smith going the cheapest route for this Philadelphia-Jacksonville game. Zay Jones is in this game. I mean, look at 11 targets last week, 9 targets in week 1. He is used quite a bit in this Jacksonville offense. He's not going to come down with 10 catches and a touchdown every single week, but you can see they want Zay Jones to be involved here in Jacksonville. So I don't mind that. That's got a little bit of a ceiling here at $5,900. I'll take that on the other side of Devontae Smith. Let's see here. Let's go back to the afternoon. One play, I talked earlier about the the Packers being a terrible run defense. And we talked about what Bailey Zapp or Brian Hoyer is going to be the quarterback for the Patriots this week. So I don't mind taking some Ramondre. He showed up last week. I touted him on this very show a week ago. Said play Ramondre. I'm telling you again, go back to Ramondre. It is Ramondre season. And I think that you could stack him up with the Romeo Dubs, right? Throw out the Dubs. He has a huge game last week. I think he was the guy that was touted so often in the offseason. We talked about him a little bit on Another Damn Fantasy podcast this week. He is trying to become that number 1 guy there in Green Bay, and they've had so many injuries with Sammy Watkins and Alan Lazard, and who knows who's actually going to be playing this week. Watkins is on IR. Randall Cobb is washed and old. Christian Watson maybe has a dart throw, but give me a guy like Romeo Dubs who played fantastic last week. And that first drive for Green Bay, they were scheming plays to Romeo Dubs. That tells us that Aaron Rodgers trusts this guy. So I don't mind a little bit of a mini stack there. And then I actually like this guy quite a bit as well. Javonte Williams. Broncos defense is one of the best defenses in the league. Unfortunately, as a Chiefs fan, but they are one of the best defenses in the league. And so if I can get a Broncos, Javonte Williams, little secondary stack here in the afternoon slate, I'll take that as well. Javonte Williams has a huge ceiling. This dude's going to go off multiple times this year. I'm going to continue to go back to him. Yes, Melvin Gordon is there, but give me Javonte. Russ has to figure this thing out, and I think it's going to go through a guy like Javonte Williams. All right, we're running a little bit late, but I want to kind of show you a little bit of an option. Again, like we talked about last time, like if Baltimore just busts, right, we can get rid of here. Some of these guys are pretty low owned already. That's why we went to them. But you still got 5,800. You got plenty of salary to kind of get weird here in the afternoon. Even more weird if you need to. But let's clear this out. Let's run through a Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Dawson Knox, double stack. Diggs is so expensive. And oh man, it hurts the salary so quickly. Dawson Knox, though, saving that 3,400 off of Mark Andrews in the same game as a little bit of a pivot is not too bad. And then let's bring it back with Rashad Bateman, 6,600, leaving us $6,100 per player on the table. This is let me show you. Let me just show you what happens if I talked about it early in the episode here. If they're the afternoon game. Man, so this inactive might not even happen until 2:00. Guys, if Foreman or if McCaffrey is out, I talked about this earlier. Whoa. Look at the salary savings. That's going to be a huge, huge difference maker. But we're not even going to know it before the game. So you might have to put in maybe you put in McCaffrey early and then switch to Foreman and then pay up somewhere else like a Diggs or a Devontae Adams or something. Having that 3:00 game, we're not going to know this inactive till 1:30, 2:00, somewhere in there. So pay attention on Sunday and be willing to late swap. It's okay to get off the guys you think are going to be good when the guys that are playing before are not good. Don't be afraid to late swap, right? And I also talked about the Packers. I want to go back to this. I like this stack a lot. That's an easy stack here. Easy stack. But look at that savings. Dante Foreman coming in saves us so much money with 6,900. Obviously, if Christian McCaffrey plays, that salary savings is not there. But if he is there, and then if he hits, we could run something chalk in the afternoon here in our flex play. 69. What about like a Cortland Sutton? Oh, yeah. Cortland Sutton here, 6,800. He'll be a little bit chalky, but in a good matchup against the Raiders. Look at that. That's what Foreman does for you if Christian McCaffrey does not play. So I'll leave you with this. Be prepared to make the switch. If Christian McCaffrey does not play, it does not matter. To me, it doesn't matter. I'm throwing Foreman into my lineups no matter what, because at $4,700, it just opens up tremendous opportunity in the late games. I want to leave at least 3, hopefully 4 players for this late slate here. Cardinals, Panthers, Broncos, Raiders, Patriots, Packers. Not a lot of high team totals, but I think there's some good plays within those 3 games. And if Christian McCaffrey were to miss, Dante Foreman is where it's at. That's where I'm going to be going for sure. Thank you all for showing up tonight. Went a little bit longer than usual, but wanted to get through some of those stacks with you all, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the single game slate at 8:30 in the morning on Sunday morning. So that kind of pushed us over the edge tonight. Thank you all for joining me. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you will. Looking for 100 subscribers for this year. Check out my season-long podcast, Another Damn Fantasy Podcast, powered by Stadium Rant. You can find us on Apple or Spotify. My co-host Dan and I, Dan's down in Tampa. He's going to be celebrating a win on Sunday Night Football down there in Tampa Bay with all of the greatest Chiefs Kingdom fans. Him and I bring it to you every week, though. You can find the link in the description. Go ahead and subscribe to that as well. Follow me on Facebook at the Rumbles of Red. Follow me on Twitter at Trevor S_FF. Good luck in week 4. And may the money always be in your favor.